The Virginia Tech Hokies are headed to the Rose Bowl, where the number 1 seed, 13-0, unbeaten, Big Ten champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes await us for a spot in the Final Four on the line. Today we will watch all 4 second-round playoff games, and we will cut our list in half from 8 teams left to 4. The first round of the college football playoff was certainly interesting. We had some very close games, some really exciting finishes, and overall a really fun start to the playoff in my opinion, especially considering Virginia Tech won. But that was not the only game we had. Texas took care of business against Oklahoma State. I don't think the score does it justice. Texas dominated this game. They were up big early and they didn't really let go. Texas Tech Notre Dame was competitive for a little while, but the Red Raiders ran away with it in the second half. Their defense was too much for Notre Dame and the young quarterback Braden Montoya. Wisconsin and South Florida was an absolute thriller. I was worried for Wisconsin going into the game. They would not have enough pieces defensively to stop the USF offense, and through the first quarter that looked to be true. But South Florida only scored 1 touchdown after the first, nothing after the first half. Wisconsin with a game-winning field goal that they made by mere centimeters. And then our game, the game of the playoffs so far against Ole Miss, an offensive shootout. Ole Miss had 650 yards, and you could argue they outplayed us, but the problem is they made costly mistakes. They threw 2 interceptions in their own territory, giving us good field position. We scored touchdowns both times. Their defense was not good throughout the course of the game. Nazir Ismail was great. Judah Hudson was great. Keelan Ringo was great. Our defense obviously didn't play very well, but after the opening drive of the second half, they only allowed 7 points. So give them credit. They played well when they needed to. And then Casey Swinger was awesome. He made all 8 of his kicks. Cannot say the same for the Ole Miss kicker. Tyler Nava, 0 for 2 in the second half, both on 4th and inches. Both very strange decisions by head coach Lane Kiffin. I don't know why they didn't go for it either of those trips. They wasted what was a great offensive game from Galeo Barron and Bryson Mickens-Corrence and Marlon Langley and Amar Simpkins, who looks the part as arguably wide receiver 2 in this draft after Nazir Ismail. But the problems for Ole Miss, of course, start on defense. That's been their Achilles heel all year. That's what we've talked about every time we've mentioned Ole Miss throughout the course of the year, and it bit them in the rear end. I thought their coaching as well was just really arrogant. I thought Lane Kiffin called a really bad game. I've seen the allegations. People like to think that I intentionally lose games. If I'm trying to throw games, then Lane Kiffin was gambling in this one with those decisions to kick the field goals on 4th and inches. And for the record, no, I do not intentionally lose games. Anyway, let's get started here with the Sugar Bowl, number 10, Wisconsin, number 2, Georgia. And at the end of the last episode, I pointed out that one of the 4 games today is going to have some kind of twist. Well, that's this game, and it has to do with Wisconsin. So their head coach, Luke Fickell, is on the move. He is going to Michigan, their rival in the Big Ten. Wow, this is certainly interesting. They fired Sharon Moore, with or without cause, I don't know, but he's going to end up at Tulsa with Clay Helton, their previous coach, going to the NFL. We're seeing coordinators switch teams, Texas losing their offensive coordinator, but for a head coach to do it of a team in the playoff, that is certainly fascinating. Wisconsin's trying to find their replacement. They want Coach Cornell Teamer Sr. Obviously, we're going to say no to that, but this significantly hurts Wisconsin's chances. They were already the Cinderella team in the playoff to begin with, and now they have to deal with this distraction. Luke Fickell is expected to call the game for them, but really, they don't have a head coach right now. They beat Michigan in the Big House earlier this year. Their only losses were to Ohio State and Indiana, surprisingly. The win against South Florida, a good team like that on the road, was certainly eye-opening in my opinion. I thought Cannon Farmingdale played a really good game. This guy's a gamer. I mean, he makes plays out of the pocket, out of structure. He can send it to all areas of the field, and in the fourth quarter, he was really clutch. Wisconsin was down for most of the game, but he played amazing. Not to mention Stephen Cartwright and Avery Homer, the dynamic duo. We didn't see a lot of Homer against South Florida. Through the air, Tavares Dugan led the way. He had about 130 yards in the first half alone. And then it was Bryce Brewer in the fourth quarter, making big catch after the big catch. And of course, at left tackle, Tyreek Bradner, the projected first rounder. He's going to have his hands full today with a very good defensive front of Georgia. The Bulldogs roster is just so talented. Will Wisconsin be able to keep up with these guys? Georgia went 12-1. It's honestly a miracle Arkansas beat them in hindsight. I mean, these guys have some impressive wins. They beat Ole Miss on the road, 73 against Vanderbilt. They beat Tennessee on the road. They beat Texas fairly comfortably in the SEC title game. And as I said, other than Virginia Tech, obviously I'm going to roll with the Hokies, but other than them, Georgia would be my pick to win the national championship. I think they're the best and most complete team in the country. Ohio State gives them a run for their money. Miami probably as well. But with this Georgia team, I think they have a little bit more in terms of playmakers on the offensive side of the ball than the Buckeyes or the Canes. Ryan Lockley's been amazing this year. Curtin Pexel's going to be arguably the top running back off the board. Adrian Moon, I think, will be a first-rounder this year, and Mariah Jackson will probably be a first-rounder next year. Both of these receivers were in the mix for the Heisman throughout the course of the year, as was Ryan Lockley, who for much of the season was the favorite. Moochie Wilson and Cameron Lewis are good young pieces as well. The offensive line is really good. Defensively, they have an unbelievable secondary. My question is up front. They have plenty of talent on the defensive line. It's just a matter of consistency with these guys. But Isaiah DeRugia has 12 sacks. Ahmad Smith has 9. Deontay Kane has 8. And then in the secondary, Aries Frost, the projected top safety in this class. DJ Harbor's probably going to be a first-rounder. Avion Graham could go early this year. Isaiah Speezy, Rayleigh Kearns, Forrest Robinson, Tommy Peel. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Georgia has like 8 guys in the secondary who are really good. Every year they lose a bunch of guys. In year 1, Spencer Turpin, the safety, went in the first round. Last year, Jeff Gokon, who obviously ended up with the Browns. He had a pick 6 in Georgia's most recent semifinal game. The Bulldogs have been one of the highest seeds 3 years in a row. They've made it to the semifinals both seasons so far, but they haven't been able to get out of the Final Four. Will they make it back for a 3rd straight year, or can the Wisconsin Badgers pull off the impossible? This would certainly be one of the more shocking upsets in recent memory, but Wisconsin played really well against South Florida. They played competitively in a road loss to Ohio State earlier in the year. Let's give them a chance. Let's see what they're made of. Georgia will start with it. Play action. Lockley with a strike up the middle. That one is hauled in. Mariah Jackson with the first down. The talented true sophomore who goes into likely next year's draft is the projected wide receiver 1. Lockley incomplete, looking for Moochie Wilson. So Wisconsin forces the punt after a couple first downs for the Dogs as the Badgers have it back. 2nd and 6. Farmingdale under pressure. It's Ahmad Smith, the projected first-round edge rusher who we were introduced to a couple days ago in the Browns prospect profile. Smith has 10 sacks. I mean, he's put up the big numbers this year, but he's been a little inconsistent on a play-by-play basis. Farmingdale looking deep. It's tipped and incomplete. Should have been intercepted on 3rd down, and Georgia will get it back. Not a lot of offense here through the opening 5 minutes. On 3rd down, it is tipped at the line. Incomplete. Wisconsin with another stop. Their defense looks the part early. Play action. Farmingdale looks to throw it under pressure. He's going to scramble on the run. Gets the first down, where he's eventually chased from behind by Ahmad Smith. So far, Wisconsin's definitely hanging in there as it's now 2nd and 12. Pushed behind midfield. Farmingdale looks to throw it. Has time now under pressure. Fumbles the ball. Still on the ground, and it's picked up by Georgia. Ahmad Smith has been all over the field. He recovers it. Forced away by the sophomore Deontay Kane. Georgia forces the turnover, and the Dogs get it back on offense. Really the first needle-moving play of the game. The Georgia pass rush has really looked the part so far. Lockley, first play, picked off! Wisconsin gets it right back! Telvin Hakeem with the interception, and both teams trade away, offsetting turnovers, essentially. And we're right back to square one. Wisconsin gets the ball back. Not a good throw by Lockley. The receiver was definitely open on the slant route. I mean, he just blatantly misfired right into the hands of Hakeem, and Wisconsin gets it back on offense. Now, they are pushed back like 20 yards where they were previously. Farmingdale on 1st down, looks to throw it. Scans the field, picked off! What is happening? Avion Graham! Nobody's in front of him. It's a pick 6. First point of the game, a defensive touchdown. And how about that? 3 plays in a row turnover, turnover, turnover. Can't say I've quite ever seen something like that. So Georgia, after all that, now leads at 7-0. That was pretty wild. Farmingdale under pressure. It's Ahmad Smith again. Second sack of the game. I know it's early, but so far, big number 94 looks the part of a first rounder. They're using him in a lot of different ways. He's stunting on the defensive line. He's winning all his reps. Farmingdale under more pressure now. Cannot escape. Another sack for the Dogs. It's Dafari Ojulari who brings him down. Georgia already with 4 sacks in this game. I mean, they're picking them up like they get speeding tickets. Here's Farmingdale, 3rd and 21. He will just throw it away. So Georgia's going to get it back. Ahmad Gentry is hurt. I saw the Ahmad. I got worried for them for a second. I thought it was going to be Ahmad Smith. But luckily he's fine as Georgia gets it back at the 45-yard line. Here's Lockley. Hands it off for Curtin Pexel to the outside with blocks. Pexel down the field. Whoop! Juke move. Sayonara. You're not beating him in a foot race. 55-yard touchdown for Curtin Pexel. The redshirt sophomore running back in the mix to be RB1 in this year's class because of plays like that. The first 5 minutes looked really close, really competitive, and now all of a sudden Georgia leads 14-0. We had 3 straight plays in this first quarter with turnovers. A Cannon Farmingdale fumble, Ryan Lockley interception, Farmingdale pick 6. So Wisconsin's got to get something going here in the second quarter as it's 3rd and 5. Farmingdale, that one is dropped. In and out of the hands. Big time hit by Rayleigh Kearns. And Georgia gets it back. 3rd down and about 3. Lockley's been largely unimpressive so far, but he connects up the middle for the first down. Cameron Lewis, kind of the 3rd wheel in this receiving corps, but he had 10 touchdowns of his own this year. Don't sleep. Nearing the end zone. Pexel, spin move. Touchdown, Georgia. Curtin Pexel, his 2nd end zone trip of the game. 21-0 lead for the Dogs. And this one is starting to get out of hand quickly. Wisconsin looks like a team distracted by the fact that they don't have a head coach. Put it that way. So they'll get it back on offense. They showed some signs of life early in the game, but I feel like the 2 turnovers kind of killed their momentum, and they haven't been able to move it since. Farmingdale is sacked again. Deontay Kane, who really started the turnover streak. He had the strip sack, gets his 2nd of the game. That's now 5 for Georgia in this first half. Their defensive line is decimating Wisconsin up front. 2nd and 17 at the 9. Farmingdale under more pressure. He's sacked again. Ahmad Smith with his 3rd. You know, I wasn't sure about him as a first-round pick when we went over him in the prospect profile. Yeah, I think he's going in the first round. Georgia would get it back. They would march down the field, but they would have some trouble punching it in. Curtin Pexel, the running back, gets injured as well, which is certainly not a good sign. He's one of their most important offensive players, and he's really the only good offensive player for them in this first half. 3rd and goal. Lockley back of the end zone, incomplete, and Georgia's going to have to settle for a field goal. Their senior, Cash Money, will attempt it from 22 yards out in the right hash. It is good. See, Tyler Nava, that's how it works. So Georgia now leads at 24-0 late in the first half with 2:20 to go. Can Wisconsin get anything offensively before the break as it continues to be tough sledding for them? 3rd down and 10, a little bit past the 40 for Cannon Farmingdale and company. Up the seam, overthrows his target. Incomplete. Georgia gets it back with another chance to score before the end of the half with Cam Lewis in motion on 3rd and 1. Lockley takes a shot. It's incomplete. So the Badgers will get it back. Remains 24-0. Farmingdale on first down goes short. Fumble! Picked up by Georgia. Another takeaway and a return after the fact as well. Now, it's interesting because in real time we'll look at the replay, but I didn't think it was a fumble. Clarence Levis was the one who forced and recovered it on the running back. It was certainly a big hit, but I don't think the ball was out. I think the ball was on the ground because of the contact that the ball carrier made with the surface, Stephen Cartwright. But let's take a look at it again. Yeah, I think it's because his elbow hit the ground, but they're not going to change this call. They're going to let Georgia keep it past the 30, and things go from bad to worse for Wisconsin. With about 10 seconds now, 1st and goal. Georgia only has 1 timeout. They better get it moving. Lockley, short throw, caught, touchdown. Cam Lewis is in for a score, and it's 31-0. What a disaster for Wisconsin. I mean, I knew it was going to be an uphill battle because Georgia's the better team, and Wisconsin's having this coaching drama at the worst possible time. I did not know it was going to be this bad. Holy Mother of Jesus. And I think the craziest part, and maybe the scariest part, is that Ryan Lockley hasn't been good. Yet Georgia is still up 31-0. Imagine how good this team can play with him on his A game, which has been regular through the course of the year. Georgia's outgained Wisconsin 253-79. Lockley, though, hasn't been that impressive. 13 of 24, 143 yards, touchdown, and a pick. It's really Curtin Pexel who's leading the way. 7 carries, 93 yards, and 2 scores. As for Wisconsin, Farmingdale, 7 of 15, just 46 yards and an interception. Cartwright has 4 carries for 40 yards, but both him and Farmingdale have fumbled. The Georgia defense has been ridiculous. They've got 6 sacks in this game. Ahmad Smith, the projected first rounder, has 3 of them. I think he's locked himself into the first round tonight with the performance he's having. 3rd and 1 for the Badgers to start the third. It's overthrown from Farmingdale. And now, to make matters even worse, Tyreek Bradner, the left tackle, is hurt. And even with all of the sacks, 6, Bradner has played another really good game. He's the only guy on the Wisconsin offensive line who's shown up. Georgia has it back, 3rd down. Lockley looks to throw it, steps up, and his pass for the sidelines is broken up. Incomplete. Good work by Wisconsin, and the inefficient day for Lockley continues. Farmingdale sacked again on 1st down. That's the 7th of the game. And the 4th separate player, it's senior linebacker DJ Matias, 6'2", 245, making the play on the blitz. Cannon Farmingdale has taken an absolute beating in this game. It's a little different, I've got to say, playing against these guys compared to South Florida. Farmingdale scrambles around, and he throws it away. Deontay Kane has really broken out onto the scene tonight. He was the one who led the pressure. 3rd down now for Georgia. Lockley looks to throw it. Lockley's pass is incomplete. He had a man open. I think that was Jackson. But Ryan Lockley's accuracy continues to be bad. And Wisconsin's offense continues to be unable to get anything, whether it's good routes, good blocks, good throws, nothing. I mean, it has been a just complete mess for them. Here is the freshman, Orion Robinson, down the field past the 30. So Curtin Pexel, remember when he got injured towards the end of the first half, Georgia had him come back, but then he re-injured himself in the second half. So we'll see if there are any long-term ramifications with that injury. So Orion Robinson, the freshman, will likely be the lead running back the rest of the way, as that one is off the mark from Lockley. Damian Charleston, one of their key offensive linemen, is hurt. Georgia's starting to drop like flies in a game that you would think they kind of already have won, up 31-0, soon to make it 34, with a 27-yarder for Cash Money. His kick is good, 34-0 lead. Georgia's in full control of the pace and the tempo of this game, and Wisconsin just continues to have no answer whatsoever. On 3rd down, they're just going to go for the screen. They know they don't have the time to go deep, and Georgia's coverage is a little too good. It's only a gain of about 7, though, on the screen, and that'll wrap up the third. The Dogs are looking good. 34-0 against Wisconsin. 2.5 yards per play. That is horrendous. Georgia's at 6.4, which really isn't that high. Again, Ryan Lockley and company haven't been that impressive. 3rd down, Lockley over the shoulders for Moochie Wilson. The young tight end gets it to about the 30. There's the type of big play that our team was looking for. Not that we, need it that much. We're up by 34. But we haven't gotten a lot of those in the second half. Lockley, 3rd and 7, misses again, incomplete. Georgia cannot let this happen in a theoretical semifinal game against either Miami or Texas Tech, because those teams are really going to make you pay. Unlike Wisconsin in this one. Cash Money is now 3 for 3. Georgia would choose some more clock. They ended up adding another field goal, and they win it here in the second round of the college football playoff, 40-0. An absolute bloodbath over Wisconsin. And so Georgia is headed back to the semifinals for a 3rd straight year. This has been their hiccup. They've lost in the semifinals in each of the last 2 years. Last season, they were up 20-0 against Miami before ultimately blowing it. They walk into the semis without really any issue. This game was total domination. And it was a game where, again, Ryan Lockley, the star quarterback, did not play very well. It was probably his worst game of the year. Yet the team still completely dominated. Now, they didn't score a touchdown in the second half. I think that's partly because the offense just kind of naturally slowed down, but also Curtin Pexel's injury. That is something to keep an eye on going into the semis because he is not a guy that they can really afford to be without. 412 yards to 136. I mean, that tells you really everything you need to know. Wisconsin finished with 2.3 yards per play. That is really bad. This Georgia defense looked unstoppable. The secondary, they were covering everybody. The defensive line finishing with 7 sacks. Ryan Lockley, these numbers are not good. Certainly not for his standards. 21 of 42, 227, touchdown and a pick. If he can get it together, then this is the best team in the country. But he also cannot afford to play like this again. Miami or Texas Tech will not let that happen. Curtin Pexel was playing great before he got injured. We'll see what his status is closer to the semifinals. They ended up rocking with the true freshman Orion Robinson, a 5-star recruit, and he did really well in place of Pexel. I would have expected it to be the talented senior Jamison Vales, but no, they're rolling with Robinson. Nobody really stood out through the air. Both Jackson and Moon were quiet. They're going to need Lockley to play better so those two guys can get the ball. The offensive line was really good, though, and then the defense was absolutely amazing. I mean, they were flawless. They didn't allow any points. Ahmad Smith, welcome to the first round, buddy. Kane had 2 sacks. Graham with the pick 6. They had 2 fumbles that they got as well. I mean, nothing went well for Wisconsin today. In the final 8 minutes that we didn't really show, Kenan Farmingdale was out of the game anyway. They went with a backup, Derek Watson, who really wasn't any better. Stephen Cartwright only had 4 carries. I feel like they should not have gone away from the run game in the first half. Obviously, I get it at a point in the second half. Dugan only had 2 catches. Brewer was quiet. At least Tyreek Bradner was good. He still looked like a first-rounder. And then defensively, honestly, I don't think they were horrible. I think Lockley's issues were more self-inflicted rather than great pass rush or great coverage. But honestly, I don't think Wisconsin's defense was that bad. Let's go to the second game, the Orange Bowl. Miami and Texas Tech. Miami played in the Orange Bowl last year. That was their comeback against Georgia. It's a home game for them, but it's not going to be easy with the 14-0 Red Raiders coming to town. The first team this year to 14 wins. They beat Arizona State twice. They blew out Oklahoma State. Sure, we know the committee does not respect the Big 12, but you have to respect the job that Texas Tech has done, especially coming off their win against Notre Dame in the first round, where Wilton, Samale, Viunga looked good. The defense played really, really well. I mean, Texas Tech is just the model of consistency. They're, 42-2 now in this series? That's unbelievable. They've still only lost 1 game since episode 3, and that was last year in the playoff against the Trojans of USC. Having Frosty Thomas healthy is a big deal. He played really well against Notre Dame. They still are going to be without number 1 receiver Tymeer Smith, and for what it's worth, even if they make a run at the championship, he's not going to come back. So they're going to need Dean Harvin and David Ajala, Dontel Wint to step up, Zach Edmond, who had the big 70-some yard touchdown in the first minute of the game against Notre Dame. The strength, though, is the defense, with Demario Lasco and Demetrius Muman going after the quarterback. Keenan Wall in the middle, and then Frederick Aldridge, Carlos Ruiz, and Miguel Battle in the secondary. As good as Texas Tech is, though, they have not played against a team like Miami this year. The Canes beat Notre Dame in South Bend. They nearly beat Clemson earlier in the year, national championship rematch. They beat Virginia Tech. They got revenge on Clemson in the ACC title. That's 3 teams in the playoff who they beat. Not to mention, they beat North Carolina, they beat Florida State, they beat NC State. I mean, this pound for pound might be the best resume in the country, and it might pound for pound be the best roster in the country. Graham Glukowski's now a vet. This is his 3rd trip in the playoff. Last year, he won them 2 games before getting injured in the national championship. He has been waiting for the opportunity to come back in the playoff, even if he was a little shaky this year with 17 picks. Evan Sutton and Damon Hershey lead a great running back room. Definitely not as good a receiver as they were last year with no more Joshua Finney, no more Marquise Maryland. Definitely a balanced approach, though. They don't really have a number 1, but instead everybody eats. The offensive line, much like last year, is really good. Defensively, last year led by the secondary. This year they're led by the front. Darryl Ramsor is the top projected defensive player in the draft. 99 speed, 99 excel. And oh yeah, he had 27 TFLs and 16 sacks to go along with 14 for LaMichael Love. I think the key in this game is going to be the trench play. We know how good Miami is on the offensive line. We know how good they are in the defensive line. How will Texas Tech manage? I'm confident in Texas Tech's defensive front because they've got a lot of really good players. Denario Lasco, I think, is the type to be able to match with a team like Miami. But what about the offensive line? For a Red Raider team who relies on the run game a lot, they need to be able to set the foundation, get ground and pound yards, and it's going to be tricky with all these guys Miami has on the defensive line. The winner set to face off against Georgia in the semifinals. We could get a Georgia and Miami rematch. Or will it be Texas Tech looking to continue their undefeated season? Canes start with it, 2nd and 4. Evan Sutton takes a shot into the backfield. Denario Lasco, expect to hear that name quite a bit, the projected first-round defensive tackle. 3rd down and 7 now for Miami. Glukowski escapes the pocket on the run, broken away. I like what he was trying to do there. Should have ran it, though. I think he would have gotten the first. Samaleviunga on 2nd and 5. Down the field, it's caught. Zach Edmond had the big touchdown last week. Another big catch here, but it won't count. A massive holding call early in this game against Texas Tech on Cameron Mangold, the right tackle. Red Raiders would convert a first down shortly thereafter, so they are still able to keep the drive going. Frosty Thomas, the true freshman, gets it past the 30, one of the top true freshmen in the entire country, maybe the best, really. Now at the 25, 2nd down for the Red Raiders, still scoreless here in the first. Samaleviunga, end zone, out of bounds! Receiver certainly caught it, but he was unable to drag the footsies in bounds. That was Dean Harvin, number 3. 3rd down and about 8 now for the Red Raiders. Samaleviunga looks to throw it. Has room. Run it! Why do these guys not run it? They are allergic. I don't get it. Field goal team is on for Texas Tech. Justice Mesco. This kick is from around 42 yards out. It is up. It is good. And so Texas Tech is the first to score. They lead it 3-0. Miami gets it back. Slow start for the Canes offense. We'll see if this is the drive that they can really get things going. Not very good field position, though, as it's a screen and a big loss of yardage. Miguel Battle, the free safety, makes the play. 3rd down and 25, backed up at your own 3. How do you manage this? Well, we're going to run the ball. I don't want any funny business, but look at Sutton. He gets more than 20 yards. He had a chance to get the first down on his own. Nonetheless, Miami's got to punt it. Texas Tech has it back, looking to add to the lead. Samaleviunga looks to throw it. Has a man open short, Thomas, but he's not looking for short. He wants to go down the field for a wide open Zach Edmond. Pitiful pass rush by one of the top pass rushers in the country. Where was Ramsor there? Where was Love? Whoop! Juke move, touchdown, Texas Tech. Wilton Samaleviunga is in for the score. This guy, he can move. I mean, as we've talked about with him, and certainly last week against Notre Dame, he can run, and we're seeing it here. Texas Tech leads 10-0. 3rd down and 7 for Miami. They're in danger of falling behind if they don't get this, as it's broken up. What a first quarter for Texas Tech. Now, I will say they should not count their eggs before they all hatch. Remember last year they were up, I think, by 2 scores against USC after the first quarter, and they ended up losing. They certainly do not want the same fate to go against them, but they've clearly been the better team, outgaining Miami by play for more than 5 yards. Samaleviunga wants it all. Heat check. Picked off. Matt Jordan with the interception. Samaleviunga getting a little too aggressive. He's feeling himself too much after the big touchdown run and the turnover. While it's basically an arm punt in terms of field position, Miami still will gladly get the ball back, and they're moving it pretty well early. But it's now 3rd down. 3rd and 10. Glukowski, he wants a turn down the field. Broke it away. Another stop for Texas Tech. Their defense looks outstanding. Samaleviunga's picked off, though. Another interception. Back-to-back. Ben Grave motion. Picks it off for Miami. Once an object starts in motion, it stays in motion until it grabs the football. And now Samaleviunga, who had this swagger about him in the first quarter, he looks a little bit rattled with the 2 interceptions. Miami has it back. This is their chance to score. Damon Hershey reaches over the line to get the first. Keeps the chains moving. Good job by the young running back. And looking to go here, dancing around after the catch, getting it near the 5. Miami in prime position to finally score. as they look at a second down and goal. Backed up at the 9. Evan Sutton with it. Spin move. Sutton is in. And it is a one-score game. What a run by Evan Sutton. And when we played against Miami earlier in the year, the conclusion I was able to make about this kid, which you could kind of see on that play, is that he just moves differently. Very much like Chris Mickens last year. And sure, Sutton has his questions in terms of his size and his durability. But yeah, he can make plays happen, just like that one. 10-7. It's a run. Thomas does not get it. Miami gets the stop, and it feels like the tides of this game are starting to turn a little bit. Glukowski fires. He's got the freshman, Alfonso Jordan, inside the 10. Fighting for yards. Still up past the 5. What a play there by Jordan, who really stepped up with some injuries they had at receiver. He ended up being one of their best that has been able to maintain a big role. 3rd and goal. Glukowski throws it into the ground, incomplete. So Texas Tech gets the stop. Noah McAllister with the pressure off the edge. And the game will be tied, assuming Miami makes the field goal. 22-yarder from Steven Wagner is good. And so we are knotted up at 10. So the first game of the episode was a total blowout. It was a 31-point deficit at the break. So it's nice that it looks like we're going to get a close game between two really, really good teams. Two teams who are certainly worthy of going on a run to the national championship. And when I look at the 7 teams who are left in the playoff, it's the top 6 seeds in Virginia Tech. Pretty much all the Cinderellas, other than us, are now gone. All of the lower-seeded teams who look like launch shots to win the title. So really, at this point, it's all the best teams left and Virginia Tech. So if we go on a run, we're going to have to earn it against college football's best. In this one, Glukowski, 12 of 21, 116. He's been pretty mediocre. Samuel Leviunga, meanwhile, is 12 of 19, 123 yards. 2 interceptions, but he does have a rushing touchdown. Scrambles around. That one is broken away. The Miami defense, after a slow start, has really come alive. These two teams were pretty much dead even in terms of yardage in the first half. As Darius Tabibian, the freshman, past the 30, the 20, the 15, 10, 5, touchdown! And Miami takes their first lead of the game with a snap of a finger. That was quick. 71 yards. This kid can fly. He's a 90 overall redshirt freshman, and I kind of thought he'd be a bigger part of the offense than he's been this year. He was waiting for the big play until the right time. Tech back with it. Look at all this time for Samuel Leviunga. I will say, Texas Tech's offensive line has done a really good job. Ramsor's been held out of the game. Love has been held out of the game. Here's Thomas, juke move, first down, spin move. He's like spamming all the buttons on the controller, but look, it's working. Texas Tech is marching down the field. 3rd down and 9 with 3 to go. Samuel Leviunga by himself in the backfield, looks to throw it, scans the field, it's incomplete. So Miami gets the stop. They will hold on to the lead. Field goal unit returns. Justice Mesco back on to kick from 36. It is good. He is 2 for 2. And it's 17-13. So the Canes hold on to their lead. They stop Texas Tech to the field goal. The Red Raiders still only have the 1 touchdown. As Miami gets it back with 2:22 to play in the 3rd. Glukowski wants it all. We know he's got a large arm. Wide open. Otis Gaffney's got it! Touchdown, Miami! From 81 yards out. And for a Canes offense that didn't really show a lot of big playability in the first half, well, they've got touchdowns of 71 and 81 here in the 3rd quarter. Wide open was Gaffney. A great throw by Glukowski. He's got such a strong arm. And the lead sits at 11. Texas Tech's got to get rolling. Frosty Thomas does not get the first down. Really good quarter by Miami. They did not start the second half with the ball, and it was tied. But now they're up by 11 with 2 super long touchdowns. Texas Tech dominated time of possession in the 3rd, but Miami had the 2 big plays that mattered. They're up by 11. They have the ball. I mean, they've really shifted the momentum, and now they are firmly in the driver's seat. Glukowski on the blitz, misfires on 3rd and 10. And the Canes are going to settle for a field goal. It's a 50-yarder for Wagner, who made his first field goal earlier in the game. Kick is up. Kick is good. So the lead stays within 2 scores. The door is very much still wide open here for Texas Tech with about 6:20 to go and pretty good field position at around the 50. On first down, just past the 50, it's a QB draw. Samuel Leviunga, first down, slides near the 30 for a little bit shy of about 20. Now a 3rd down and 6, a little over 5 minutes to go. Time is starting to really tick for Texas Tech. They've got to be mindful of the clock. Le'Veonga misfires for a wide open Zach Edmond. He's got to make that throw. He had plenty of space on the DB. Obviously, they are going to go for it here on 4th down. Here's Wilton Le'Veonga looking deep, incomplete. Miami gets the stop. Now they're going to look to choose some clock. 3rd and 7, 2:25 to play. 1st down really puts them in a good spot. Goliath will look to throw it, interestingly, here. And it is caught for no avail. Raekwon Ishmael, who's been pretty good today, is just short. I don't agree with this kick decision at all. I mean, this is a 58-yarder. I would understand going for it or punting it, pinning them deep. But this is a stupid call because they miss it. And it will remain a 2-score lead. If they had punted it, they could have pinned them deep. If they went for it, they could have gotten it and pretty much ended the game. 3rd and 10. Le'Veonga with 1:40. Scrambles around, looks to run, does not get enough. James Montero is right in front of him as he slides. Excellent coverage by Miami. Obviously, we're at the point now where Texas Tech really has to go for it as it's 4th and 8, possibly for the game. Le'Veonga wants it all for the end zone. It is broken away by Jordan. So there's 1:22, and Tech has 1 timeout. So technically, the game's not over. But Miami, if they make this play longer than 2 seconds, which with Hershey, they will, Texas Tech flushes their timeout, and now Miami can kneel the clock and seal the deal. Something that pretty much nobody in this series has done is beat Texas Tech. They've lost 1 game pretty much since episode 3. But Miami knocks them out in the 2nd round of the playoff at the Orange Bowl. And that means the first semifinal matchup is set. Georgia and Miami, a rematch from the classic semifinal game a year ago when Georgia was up 20-0 in the 2nd half and lost. These 2 teams will get to face each other again. These 2 quarterbacks will get to see each other again. The 2 rosters may look a lot different, but the 2 QBs return. And with Graham Goliath, of course, missing most of the national championship with an injury, I mean, I feel like there's more riding for him than just about anybody in the entire playoffs. He didn't play his best game today, although he was certainly good enough. And it was Miami's defense, I think, who really, really impressed me. They only allowed 3 points after the first quarter. The yardage was pretty much even in the first half, but it was very uneven in the second half. Miami was the better team, even though they started slow. Much like when Texas Tech lost to USC last year in the playoffs, they started fast and fizzled out. Goliath, 18 of 28, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, very solid. Little disappointed by the run game. Now, Texas Tech does have a great defensive front. That'll happen, but, I mean, everybody left has a good defensive front. 57 for Ishmael, 99 for Gaffney. Jordan had 40 to BBN with 84. Offensive line was fine. I mean, the pass blocking was good. They didn't have any sacks, though. Ramsor was quiet. Love was quiet. I think Texas Tech did a really good job of taking them out of the game plan. The problem is it kind of altered the rest of their offense because they couldn't really focus on what they normally do best. Le'Veonga, 24, 44, 210, 2 interceptions. Certainly not his best game. Did have some good runs, as did Frosty Thomas. They should have ran the ball more because they ran it really well. They certainly ran it better than they threw it. 7 for 85 for Edmond, 7 for 40 for Ajala, the 2 senior receivers. They're going to be losing Le'Veonga, but they should be bringing back Frosty Thomas. They should be bringing back Keyshawn Marshall, who started a few games at quarterback this year and was more than fine. Maybe they get an upgrade in the portal like Le'Veonga this past year. We'll see. Another really, really good season for Texas Tech, but like last year, they fall short. I'm not surprised Texas Tech did not quite have what it takes. As good as they were this year, I just don't think they were as talented as they were over each of the last 2 years. Very, very strong squad, but I don't think they're in this upper echelon with teams like Texas and Clemson, who are going to play each other at the Cotton Bowl, a rematch of a first-round playoff game from a year ago. Texas went undefeated in the regular season. They beat LSU. They beat Tennessee. They blew out Ole Miss. That's a really impressive win. Their only loss came in the SEC title against Georgia, and seeing how well Georgia played today, no real shame in that. They really took care of business against Oklahoma in the first round, and the biggest reason for that, I think, was Wyatt Cruz, who in his first career playoff game was outstanding. This guy's played a lot of football, but never in the playoff until now. They do have some injury questions. And I feel like there were 5 teams competing for those 4 first-round buys. They did not end up getting the buy, and it really hurt them. John Little didn't play much against Oklahoma State because he's dealing with some wear and tear. His usage for this game is in question, but I would argue the even bigger injury on defense. George Rizzo against Oklahoma State, their number 1 edge rusher, 11.5 sacks, complete tear of his MCL. So, I mean, not only is he out for the playoff, but he's out for the combine. He's probably going to be out for training camp. That really sucks for him trying to make it into the NFL because he's behind the 8 ball compared to the other prospects. So, Texas ended up getting screwed by having to play that game against Oklahoma because of the injuries. I think this certainly favors Clemson, although they've got some injuries of their own. Nick Eberle is questionable for today's game. They had the schedule of doom to start the year, went 4-0 with Alabama, USC, Miami, and Notre Dame. They had a fairly easy schedule after that. Nick Eberle got injured against South Carolina, did not play in the ACC title where they lost to Miami. Granted, only by 7. They've had a lot of time off, though, since Eberle got hurt, and he will end up playing today. That is a huge deal for Clemson. Eberle is a huge reason why they won the national championship last year. Sure, I would argue guys like Judy Esufu and Eric Henderson maybe had more impressive playoff runs. But Nick Eberle was the catalyst, and to have a quarterback who knows what it takes, who's 4-0 in his playoff career, is very valuable. Even though Judy Esufu is gone, who's obviously a pretty big piece, the rest of the offense is pretty much exactly the same. Just Esufu and really the tight end, Miguel Johns. Defensively, they lost the entire secondary. Eric Henderson's now in Cleveland. That's along with both of the safeties, the other corners. They had 4 defensive backs go in the second round. But I think the X factor is going to be edge rusher Xavier Rumble, who only had 5 sacks this year. He only played 6 games. Rumble missed the final 3 games of Clemson's playoff run last year. They won without him. He's missed a lot of time this year, but when he's on the field, he's really good. And he's projected to go in the first round because of that, being a 20-year-old who's had some injury issues, but has dominated when he's been on the field. This is going to be a fun one. Texas versus Clemson. 2 teams who are at the top of the rankings all year. Both teams finished undefeated in the regular season before losing in their conference titles. Clemson got the 4, Texas got the 5. Texas had to play an extra game, and it completely screwed them over. With John Little's status being questionable and George Rizzo, probably their best defensive player, out for the rest of the year. Should be a good one. The reigning champs start with the ball. It's a screen. Messiah Cook with a juke move. Past the 30, the 20, 15, 10, 5, all the way to the 1. What a play for Messiah Cook. And the Tigers are moving early here on this opening drive. Nick Eberle has completed every pass so far. 3rd and goal. Frosty Winters powers his way through for a touchdown, and Clemson will strike first. They march down the field, picking up right where they left off from last year in the playoff. Texas looks to respond. The tight end, Remington Motley, had a huge game a week ago. From the 24, DeKalen Jackson waltzes into the end zone. We're tied at 7. Texas picks up right where they left off from a week ago. This is a team who's out for revenge after losing to Clemson in the first round of the playoff a year ago. Obviously, the roster has some different faces. Wyatt Cruz at quarterback, but a lot of the same cast of characters, including much of the skill position room. Clemson has it back, both teams with opening drive touchdowns. It's a screen for Frosty Winters. Winters breaks the tackle, still up. Juke move, wrapped up at around the 50. Heck of a play by Winters. That'll wrap up the first. 7-7, a lot of offense so far. I would say the first 2 games have been largely about the defense, so this is a little bit refreshing. These 2 offenses look the part, and these 2 possible first-round quarterbacks look the part. True freshman Ron Haddad gets about 19. Clemson's got it in the red zone, backed up at the 15. 3rd and goal. Eberle goes short, big hits! Unable to hold on to the football. A big-time tackle by the linebacker, Ricky Eifler, and that'll bring out the field goal unit. Anthony Rosa, his field goal is up and good from 32, and so Clemson will regain the lead with the field goal as it's 10-7. Their offense looks good. Nick Eberle looks really good, picking up right where he left off from last year in the playoff. Texas has it back. John Little up the middle. Good to see him looking healthy after not really playing much against Oklahoma State. They're going to need him today. Batted down, incomplete on third down, so now Clemson gets the stop. It's a copycat league. One team scores a touchdown, the other responds. One team gets a field goal, the other looks to do the same. Casey Teague from 39. It's Teague time. We're knotted up at 10. So now Clemson will get it back. With only 5 minutes left in the first half, it almost looks like a low-scoring game, but it's just been slow-paced. Every drive today has ended in points. Eberle on first down, up the middle, nice throw and catch. Good throw and catch for Kareem Bialo-Suquinha, as they'll go right back to him on the RPO. Bialo-Suquinha is in the end zone for a touchdown. Clemson back ahead. Nick Eberle continues to lead the team down the field effortlessly. I think there have been like 2 or 3 incompletions by the 2 quarterbacks combined in this game. That's how efficient they've been. 2-minute drill for Wyatt Cruz and company. 3rd and 4. Cruz lobs it up. Wide open! All the way down the field. It is a touchdown for Kwabena Yeboah. 80-yard score, and we are quickly knotted up at 17. Yeboah gets a step on the 2 defensive backs, and then at that point, I mean, it's barbecue chicken. And shout out to Wyatt Cruz for delivering the throw. And just like that, we are knotted up again. This has been an exciting first half. This might be Clemson and USC from the Final Four all over again. 3rd and 13. Eberle looks to throw. It is caught, but not enough for the first down. Frosty Winters, 5 catches, 49 yards. Clemson would actually have to punt it. Texas did not do much of anything to end the half, but we've got a good one here at Jerry's World. Texas 17, Clemson 17. The winner will face off against either Ohio State or Virginia Tech in the semis. The story of today is the quarterback play. We haven't really seen good quarterback play at all in the first 2 games, but today we've been treated to a clinic. Nick Eberle, 18 of 20, 221 yards and a touchdown. As for Texas, Wyatt Cruz, 17 of 18, 201 yards and 2 scores. He has more touchdowns than he does incompletions. That is awfully remarkable. The 2 passing games have just been so efficient. They've been so steady. The receivers and the running backs are all making plays. I mean, these 2 teams both look like well-oiled machines. And for Clemson, it shouldn't be a surprise. We saw them win 4 playoff games last year. Texas, though, will start with the ball. We'll see if they can potentially take the lead. They have not led yet in this game. Short throw on the RPO to start. Broken tackle. Really nice play by DeKalin Jackson, who gets it near the 40. Of all the talented receivers this team has, Jackson's the best one. He led the team in receiving a year ago. Could be a top 100 draft pick. As Cruz throws it into the ground with the pressure from Derek Lehandy Jr. So the Tigers get it back on 3rd down. Eberle's pass is dropped. We've had the same amount of incompletions in the first 2 minutes of the second half, 3, that we did in the entirety of the first half. That's pretty remarkable. Texas back with it, good field position. Both teams punting to start the 3rd, turning over a new leaf. DeKalin Jackson, though, gets it past the 30. Really nice gain for Jackson, who's had a really nice afternoon. 2nd and 10, 6.5 to go. Play action, RPO, wide open in space. Spin move for Yeboah to about the 10-yard line. I'll tell you what, I did not know Kwabena Yeboah had that in his bag. 3rd down, Cruz under pressure, goes short. Motley inside the 5. He's just short. And Texas is going to kick. What a wuss play call. 4th down and 1. Muster up the strength to go for it. Give it to the power back, Chaparra, and let him fight for a few yards. Kick is good. It's 20-17. Texas, for the first time today, has the lead. Clemson back with it. 3rd down and about 12 for the Tigers. They trail. Eberle, he is picked off. Nate Crummy had 2 interceptions a week ago on the return. Crummy's in for a pick 6. And Texas adds to the lead. I guess one could say that play was crummy. An underthrown ball by Eberle, who had only been picked off twice in the entirety of the regular season. But it's crummy. It was 3 interceptions in the playoff and has covered well. 27-17. All of a sudden, it's Texas who appears to be in control. So now Clemson and company got to get going. That's Bialo-Suquinha with the reception, and that'll wrap up the 3rd. Very nice quarter for Texas. Neither team has run the ball well at all today. 22 rushing yards for Texas, 21 for Clemson. But both quarterbacks are continuing to play really well. Now, Eberle was definitely not as good in the 3rd quarter, especially with the pick 6. But he's looking better in the 4th, and he's got the Tigers moving down the field. Eberle scrambles, first down, slides inside the 5. Good decision to run. There have been a lot of instances in the playoffs so far where I feel like the quarterbacks need to be more willing to run. As Frosty Thomas, Frosty Winters, I'm going to get these guys mixed up a million times. Frosty Winters is in the end zone for the touchdown. If it ain't snowing, he ain't going. 27-24, Texas has it back, 6.5 to go. Huge play here, 3rd and 11. Cruz is sacked! Jermichael Stevens, the freshman safety who had 6 interceptions this year, comes in off the blitz. This is a guy Clemson is really excited about, the replacement for all those guys in the secondary a year ago. And now they have the ball back, only down by 3. And their chances here are wide open. Malachi Miller, the tight end, gets it past the 40. Clemson looked like they were in a bad spot going into the 4th, but now they're really on a roll. Eberle, what a throw! That one to about the 25 is caught by Messiah Cook. Now 3rd and 7. Here is Eberle. Dances around. It is caught again. Another first down. Messiah Cook once more. Play action. Eberle wide open touchdown. But this one is not going to stand. And Clemson's comeback lead will be short-lived. It is a holding against Deontay McCray, projected top 100 pick at left tackle. Now they would make up the yardage on 2nd down. We're kind of back to square one. 3rd and 6 for Clemson. Field goal ties. Touchdown takes the lead. Eberle looks to throw it. Under pressure. Scrambles and is sacked. The first sack of the game for the Longhorns could not have come at a better time. That's Tremel Coleman, the junior linebacker, with the sack, and it will very importantly force Clemson to stick with the tie. To knot this one at 27, a little over 2 to go. Rosa's kick is good. He is 2 for 2. 27-27. Biggest drive of your career, Wyatt Cruz. Are you a man or are you a mouse? At the 2-minute timeout, 2nd and 2. Read option. Cruz, we know he can run. First down, past the 35. All they would need is a field goal to take the lead. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to chuck it down the field. And now at this point, at around the 40, the focus can really be managing the clock. Here is Cruz up the middle. Deep, it's caught! Remington Motley inside the 15. The timeouts are starting to be used by Clemson. They're now out as it's 3rd and 2. Little first down, and that's the worst case scenario for Clemson because Texas can now chew the final minute of clock, eventually score or kick the field goal and not give Clemson much time. Little does go the wrong way. Good job there by the Clemson defensive line to bring him down. Now there's under 30 seconds. Texas has to be mindful of the clock themselves just so they don't do anything stupid. They do have all 3 timeouts, so if things get murky, they can call one if needed. With only 20 seconds. Touchdown, Texas! Remington Motley with the score. Wyatt Cruz, are you a man or a mouse? I think we got our answer. A 2-minute drill led by the senior quarterback who has been unbelievable in this game. 32 for 36, shredding the Clemson defense apart, and the defending champion season comes down to a couple of plays. 34-27, 2nd and 10. Eberle scrambles around. Nobody is open. Eberle's just going to run it out of bounds. Make sure he gets one more opportunity for a Hail Mary with 3 seconds to go. This is it. The defending champion season is on the line. Texas looking to be the first non-bye week team to the Final Four. Eberle sets his feet, winds up deep down the field. He's going to get it pretty close, but it is incomplete. And the Longhorns are moving on to the Final Four. We will once again have a new champion. Our Season 1 winner, Texas Tech, out. Our Season 2 winner, Clemson, out. And much like Texas Tech a year ago, the reigning champion, after getting a first-round bye, goes one and done in the postseason. So Texas moves on. Clemson, it is over. The Tigers obviously had their good run last year, but I think the injury to Eberle kind of set the team apart, even though he did play well individually in this game. This Texas squad, they have a bunch of good pieces that I feel like flow really well together. We kind of got to see this a little bit in the first game, but I think Coach Sark has done a terrific job of building a roster of guys who kind of fit the program, fit the team really well, and now they are going to the semifinals to play against either Ohio State or Virginia Tech. This was a really competitive game, though. Certainly the best one of the semifinals so far. Tied at halftime. Texas had their big third. Clemson ties it in the fourth, but Wyatt Cruz gets the huge drive to win the game. My eyes have been opened a little bit to Wyatt Cruz over the last couple of games. I really wasn't sold on him as an NFL prospect, but watching him in the two biggest games of his career, he's flourished in both of them. It's one thing to do it against Oklahoma State, but it's an entirely different thing to do it against a great Clemson defense. John Little was the only running back who got the ball, a far cry from last week. Lennon, 9 for 73. Yeboah, 119 in a score. Motley and Jackson both take trips to the end zone. As for the defense, certainly wasn't perfect. Nick Eberle threw the ball pretty well on them for most of the game, but they really limited the run, and they had some big plays when they needed to. A couple of timely sacks and the pick six by Nate Crummy, I think, was the biggest play of the entire game. That really gave them a lot of momentum. Eberle was very solid, though. 30 for 38, 361, touchdown and a pick, especially considering he really hasn't been able to practice over the last month. Frosty Winters, 12 carries, 10 yards, 2 touchdowns. What a stat line. But no, Clemson could not run the ball at all. They really had to rely on the passing game, and I think by the time we got to the second half, the passing game was a little bit worse because Texas was able to put more emphasis on stopping the pass. Messiah Cook, though, I thought was really impressive. Their offensive line was quite good. Defensively, they could not stop the passing attack, though, for the Longhorns. They had a couple sacks, but most of their key pass rushers, including Rumble, were really quiet. So that brings us to the final game of the day, the Rose Bowl. We know that Texas will be awaiting the winner in the semifinals. This game feels like David versus Goliath, a true underdog in Virginia Tech, the last real underdog left in the playoff against Ohio State, who could have upwards of 7 or 8 players drafted in just the first round alone this year, including the number 1 overall pick at quarterback. I predicted, other than us, that Georgia would have the best chance of winning the national title, but I would not make any arguments against Ohio State because this team is ridiculous, unlike anything we have ever seen in this series. But I think with the resiliency and the battles that this team has faced, they are ready for the moment. Our only 2 losses were on the road to playoff teams, and we avenged the Ole Miss loss, beating them by the same score that we lost to them last week. The other loss was to Miami on the road, only by 9 points, a competitive game against one of the very best teams in the country. My question, though, is what the hell will Judah Hudson look like? Because throughout his career at Louisville and now here for Virginia Tech, the story has been that he plays really well against bad opponents, but against great defenses, he falters. He was awesome against Ole Miss, but Ole Miss does not have a good defense. Ohio State has maybe the best defense in America, so it's going to be a little bit different. Keelan Ringo's nearing the 1,000 yards mark. We're certainly hoping to continue to run the ball well, but Ohio State has maybe the deepest defensive line we've seen. We're going to try to throw the ball with Nazir Ishmael, but they have a loaded secondary. They have maybe the top cornerback in the class, Chris Islands, who will be following and shadowing Nazir Ishmael through the course of the entire game. Given that he is a really good prospect who could go in the top 10, and Ishmael might be held out of the game plan at some times, we're going to need one of these other receivers to step up, unlike through the rest of the year. Defensively, is this defense good, or is it smoke and mirrors? Get it? We did not play very well against Ole Miss, but we found a way to stop the run in the second half, which I think made stopping the passing game a whole lot easier. The biggest reason why we really excelled defensively in the second half over the final 15 minutes against the Rebels. But this Ohio State team is just a different beast. They have played a lot of really good teams, and they've beaten them all. Beat Arizona State on the road, beat Washington on the road, beat Wisconsin on the road. Much like season 1, when they made the Final Four, I feel like Ohio State wasn't that great early, but they've peaked at the right time. 60 against Penn State, 69 against Michigan at the Big House. Blew out a great Nebraska team in the conference championship. Last year, Ohio State didn't peak late in the year, and they ended up missing the playoffs entirely. This is their first playoff game since the Final Four of year 1, where they nearly beat the eventual national champion Texas Tech. Right now, there is no quarterback in college football playing better than Malachi Foreman, who has been on an absolute tear. He's only thrown 1 interception the whole year. As a freshman, it was obvious that the upside was there, but there were a lot of growing pains, hence why Ohio State disappointed and didn't make the playoff entirely. But what started as an interesting discussion going into the year of who QB1 would be, that discussion is over. Malachi Foreman is going to be the top quarterback off the board, and he presumably would be the number 1 pick, even with guys like Nazir Ishmael and Daryl Ramsor and his teammate Ogden Filipovich, who are worthy of being the number 1 pick. Foreman plays quarterback, and they don't. They have a good running back duo, Deontay Tyler and Ricky Motley, who have pretty much even touches this year, and they have a ton of playmakers. Aston Alexander III, he's a projected first-rounder going into next year. Devontae Francois and Juju Webb, 2 really, really high-quality seniors. And then Tyson Dakota at tight end. I think he's the best tight end in the country. He's a projected top 15 pick in the first round this year. The offensive line is loaded. Kenji Ito probably goes in the first round. Ryan Rayner, the top center. Savion Rocker, the top offensive lineman, period. Projected top 10 pick. He will not play with an injury. Yosefa Tuitele will move from the right side to the left side. And then defensively, it just gets even scarier. Ogden Filipovich, you can make an argument, is the best prospect in the draft. I think he's even better than Curtis Glenn, the top defensive tackle last year. Edge rusher Rudy Sledge could go in the first. Isaac Sarfo could go pretty high. Nick Pooley and Chris Islands might be the 2 best defensive backs in the draft. And then Josh Fenix, BJ Sampson, and Kamorian Baker could all go pretty early. This team is a first-round quarterback, a first-round tight end, probably 2 first-round offensive linemen, and I would say at least 4, maybe 5 or 6 first-rounders on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, this really is David versus Goliath. Ohio State, I think, has the best roster that any team in this series has had through the first 3 seasons. And you combine that with the quarterback and the rest of the group peaking at the right time, that is frightening. The little old Virginia Tech. Nobody expects us to win. The odds are very much against us, but I go back to season 1 of the Kansas Dynasty in this building. That Oregon team was loaded, and we beat them as the 9 seed in the Rose Bowl. Can we do the same and shock the world today against Ohio State? Ringo loses a yard to start. Percy Rasmussen, who we didn't even mention earlier, brings him down. 2nd and 12. We're going to try to find creative ways to get Nazir Ishmael the ball. That time it didn't really work. And it is 3rd down and 15. Hudson does not have much time under pressure from Sledge as it's caught by Malachi Lavelle. And over the first drive, we got a whopping 2 yards. That'll lead to a punt. Ohio State with it. 3rd and 9. Broken away! In and out of the hands of Aston Alexander. Smoke Lewis got a hand on it. On our first drive, we only got 2 yards. On Ohio State's first drive, they only got 1. So we're doing a little better than them so far. 3rd down for the Hokies. Hudson on the run. Forces it for Ishmael into double coverage. It's incomplete. Ohio State's putting a lot of attention early on Ishmael, unsurprisingly. 2nd and 6. Here's Juju Webb, the senior, down the field. Finally, the big play they were waiting for. Out of bounds past the 40 for a gain of about 41. So finally, the Buckeyes get the first down for either team today. It took nearly half of the first quarter. Foreman up the middle. Webb again, another first down. Juju Webb's been kind of the unsung hero of the offense. Alexander, Dakota, and even Francois are the guys who get the attention and the headlines. Deontay Tyler, the freshman running back, gets about 12, and Ohio State is marching on the doorstep. Foreman, screen. Tyler tries to break away. Watkins brings him down. And look at this. They are going to keep the offense on the field on 4th and goal. I respect the balls, Ryan Day. 4th and goal at the 3. This is a huge opportunity for us. A difference between 7 points. Here's Foreman. Has time. Back of the end zone. Touchdown! Devontae Francois. The transfer from Pitt is the first to score. I thought we did a good job covering for the most part, but the pass rush didn't get home. I mean, that's what happens when you're going up against multiple first-rounders on the offensive line. End around Ishmael. 1st down. Block from Dalton. He's eventually tracked down, but not before 15 yards. I don't know how much time we're going to have to throw the ball, so again, we've got to find creative ways to get it to him as Vantress Kiernan drops it on 3rd down. So through 3 drives, we have what? 2 first downs so far? We are not moving the ball well at all. Buckeyes have it back. That'll wrap up the first. So far, not great. We trail 7-0. Ohio State with a nice drive. 4th down touchdown for Devontae Francois, while we have 3 passing yards and are averaging less than 2 yards per play. Not good. 2nd and 2 to start the second. Quick throw, Tyson Takota, the top projected tight end in the class to the 30. I don't think he's quite on the level as a prospect of Kyle Pitts or Brock Bowers, but I can't think of any other tight ends over the last 10 years who would be lower than Takota. That's how good he is. As Aston Alexander gets it inside the 10. He's been kind of quiet today. Ricky Motley flips into the end zone for a touchdown, and the Ohio State Buckeyes will add to the lead as it's 14-0. Ricky Motley's brother, Remington Motley, is the tight end at Texas, who scored in each of their 2 playoff games so far. Now Ricky finds the end zone. The Motley boys are eating. 3 games, 3 touchdowns. 3rd and 10, Hudson gets nothing. I didn't feel comfortable going with the drop-back passing game because he has no time to throw it. We tried the run, didn't work. Ohio State back with it. Motley breaks away from Watkins, gets the first to around the 50, and this game is quickly trending downhill pretty fast. I mean, we are really starting to lose a grasp. Foreman down the field. It's caught by Webb inside the 5. Malachi Foreman is starting to pick this defense apart. Under 4 to go. Here is Tyler going the wrong way. Justice Watkins brings him down. Big 3rd and goal here. Just over 3 to go in the first half. Foreman will go for the delayed handoff, and Motley is going the wrong way. It's K'Wan Stewart with the stop, and the Buckeyes are going to have to settle for a field goal, so we do get a red zone stop this time. Jarrell Moe, a 62 overall freshman, on to kick it. You know the game is realistic because they gave Ohio State a really, really bad kicker. He makes it, though. It's 17-0, and Virginia Tech gets it back. It would be funny if the kicker loses them a playoff game, hopefully this game, as Ashwell Virgo goes the wrong way. I mean, this defensive line is just too good. Our offensive line just does not stand a chance with these guys. 2nd down, under pressure. Ringo is open. Ringo, 1st down, juke move to about the 35. Finally, we get a nice pass. Judah Hudson, before that 1st down, had 3 passing yards. 3. On 2nd down and 5, up the middle. Nazir Ishmael with the reception. And Ishmael, who had negative receiving yards, gets the first. He only has 3 touches, I think, 3 or 4. So we've got to find more ways to get him the ball because he is the lead playmaker. Virgo up the middle. He goes the wrong way again. Oakton Filipovich hasn't really put up any numbers, but he is clogging rushing lanes and making his impact felt. 3rd and 7. Hudson scrambles. Hudson's got room. Hudson will look to run for the 1st down. Not quite. Is Zaire Lucas with the tackle. 4th and inches. I mean, what do we have to lose at this point? We're going to keep the offense on the field with 49 seconds and go for it. Hudson, sneak, gets it, but we've got to be mindful of the clock here. We're going to use our first timeout. I didn't want to have to go no huddle, stay in the goal line package. I just wanted to reset the offense. 3rd and 8. Hudson rolls out. He's got Ishmael inside the 10. Finally, it feels like the offense is in a little bit of a rhythm. Hudson's getting the ball out quick, and he's honestly playing pretty well. On 2nd and goal, Hudson on the run. Wide open, Keelan Ringo for the touchdown. And Virginia Tech is going to try to make this game interesting at the very least. 17-7. Really impressive drive by Judah Hudson, but a lot of work to do. We're down by 10. We don't start with the ball in the second half. We're only averaging less than 4 yards per play. Ohio State's very clearly been the better team. They have more than doubled the amount of yards that we do. Malachi Foreman has been as advertised, 14 of 17, 176 yards and a touchdown. It's been Juju Webb really leading the way through the air. 5 catches, 83 yards. Francois with a score. Dakota and Alexander each only have 2 receptions. For us, Judah Hudson, 11 of 17, 78 yards and a touchdown. Honestly, I don't think he's been that bad. I think it's his surroundings that have struggled. We've got to find more ways to get Ishmael the ball, though. Only 54 yards from scrimmage. As Alexander gets the first down, they've got to find ways to get him the ball more. There's a nice throw. Juju Webb's got it in traffic. Foreman circling the shark-infested waters with about 6:26 to play in the third. Under pressure, Ricky Motley wide open. Outrun Story past the 20. At this point, the goal has to be just let them kick a field goal because a touchdown makes it a 3-score game, and it's dropped in the end zone on 3rd down. Tyson Dakota had it in his hands, but he's unable to keep it. So that'll bring out the field goal unit, 62 overall. Looking to make it a 13-point lead. The kick is up, and it is good. So far, no issues for Jarrell Moe. as it is 20-7. We'll see if the offense can keep things going after a really nice drive previously. Touchdown would make it a one-score game. Second and inches, a little over 4 to go in the third. Virgo hit hard in the backfield. It's Lucas again. He's had a really nice game at linebacker. And that'll make it a 3rd and 4. Hudson looks to throw it. Looking for Ishmael. It's nearly picked off. He was open. Gotta make that throw. And I think Judah Hudson's been reasonably accurate today. That's really Chris Island's first bad rep of the entire game, and we wasted it because of a bad pass. That one is hauled in. Juju Webb again. He's over the century mark in yardage. We've stopped both of their outside receivers. We've stopped their tight end, but we haven't stopped Webb in the slot. Foreman connects. Aston Alexander with the first down. I think in general, Smoke Lewis has won the battle with Alexander, but he has had some nice catches. Deontay Tyler in the open field into the end zone. And the Buckeyes are going to add to the lead. They are now up by 20. 27-7. And Virginia Tech, I feel like we've got to feel a sense of urgency now. It's a 3-score game. We're playing against Ohio State, who's been nearly flawless through the course of the year. I feel like we've almost got to start going tempo on this drive. Vantress Kiernan in space. He will get the first down, keeps the chains moving to around the 40. Now a 3rd down and 4. Hudson joined by Ringo. Hudson will look to throw it. Quick pass. Ishmael makes the catch for the first down, quickly brought down by Chris Islands, who I think has looked the part as CB1 in this draft. Ringo finds the hole, blocked by Ishmael, and he is wrapped up a little bit past the 20 by the All-American safety, Nick Poley. Ringo only had 4 rushing yards before that play, and that'll wrap up the third. It's not looking good for Virginia Tech. We're down 27-7. We are getting a nice little drive together here. We have to score a touchdown on this possession if we want any chance. But we've got to be perfect in this fourth quarter. And it's going to be really hard to be perfect when we're going up against, well, literally the perfect college roster. 2nd and 10. Hudson scrambles on the run. He's got Ishmael. I like that we've been able to get Ishmael involved in the second half, even if it's a lot of short stuff. On 3rd and goal, Hudson, short throw. Virgo doesn't get much. We've got to go for it. Down by 20 here on 4th and goal. If we don't get this here, this could be for the game. Hudson and empty. We're not exactly hiding what we're looking to do here as he'll look to throw it. Under pressure from Sarfo. Looks to outrun him, and he does! Judah Hudson in the end zone for a touchdown. And Virginia Tech is not going out without a fight at the very least. 27-14 with 9 minutes to go. It's a 2-score lead. Defense has got to get a stop. And the run defense, much like Ole Miss, has been great in the second half. Deontay Tyler has 10 carries for 16 yards. He hasn't been very productive. 2nd and 12. Foreman looks to throw it. Pass is caught. Tyson Takota, first down, breaks the tackle. I mean, he's a machine after the catch. Ultra athletic, runs the route tree. He's just got to get a little bit bigger. Ricky Motley up the middle. Juke move, first down. Motley's been definitely the better of the 2 running backs today. He's been quite good, I think. 6:20 to go. Motley up the middle, another first down. Bounces off a blocker, wrapped up by the senior, Justice Watkins. Our seniors are in danger of this being the end of the road for them. Short throw. It's Webb again. Gets the first, tackled at the 20 by Fleming. Ohio State's moving it, and they're moving the clock. Less than 5 minutes to play. With a receiver in motion, that's Devontae Francois. Tyler back in at running back, he gets it, and he continues to live behind the line of scrimmage. Konabua brings him down. Under 4 minutes now, 3rd and 4. They're chewing a ton of clock. Foreman scrambles, wide open rushing lane, first down, Ohio State. This has been a picture-perfect drive because they've used like 5 minutes of clock. Motley does not get in the end zone. That'll make it a 3rd and goal. I almost wish they scored earlier because they're wasting so much time. This is a problem. This has been a 5.5-minute drive that will end with a touchdown. Motley launches the defender to the ground, Colby Cook. Look, I think Colby Cook's a great player. He's been one of the most important pieces of the defense over the last 3 years. But, man, he has been rough tonight. When he's been in the slot, he has been burnt toast with Juju Webb. So it's a 20-point game with 2 minutes to go. This could be the end of the road for Ishmael, college football's new all-time receiving yards leader. He broke that record earlier in the game. Hudson lobs it up. It is picked off. I mean, he's desperate at this point, just throwing up junk. And Nick Pooley's got it, his 5th of the year. Pooley, to me, is a legit first-round cover safety as a center fielder. We couldn't go deep today because he was patrolling the back end. Foreman, wide open, Deontay Tyler. Down the field, Cook after him, tackles him at the 10. We might have been better off letting him score. Now we've got to call our timeouts. Ohio State with a chance to really put an exclamation point on this one with a minute and a half. Motley loses yards on first down. Jefferson Boateng, the senior, brings him down. 3rd and 4, short throw. Francois does not get it. There's a good play by Colby Cook. Does have a bunch of tackles, probably because he's allowing all those catches. Him and Ian Cloud, who's been not great in the slot himself. Field goal unit returns. Jarrell Moe is a perfect 7 of 7 on kicks tonight. 4 extra points, 3 field goals, 37-14 with under a minute to go. Virginia Tech's season nearing its close as Hudson connects with Nazir Ismail. The final moments for Ismail here at Virginia Tech. The greatest player in the history of the program in his last game as a Hokie. His 10th catch of the game, number 339 for his career. 26 seconds left now, 3rd down and 1. Hudson and empty, looks to throw it down the field, and it is picked off again, and that'll do it for good. Josh Fenix, the other star safety, with the interception, and this one is over. The Cinderella run for Virginia Tech has hit midnight, and the Ohio State Buckeyes win in pretty dominant fashion and are headed to the Final Four. Our 2 losses this year against Ole Miss and Miami, 2 playoff teams on the road, were only by a combined total of 11 points. So this feels pretty jarring because, it was a blowout. And, we were technically still in it up until probably the final 5 minutes of the game. It never really felt like we had a shot. Ohio State took the lead early. And with a team like that, it just always kind of felt like too big of a hurdle to climb to catch up. I think we need to step back and look at the bigger picture and realize, yes, this absolutely stings to play really poorly in this game and to have the seniors and the guys declaring or leaving for the portal, to have them leave like this, and to have Malachi Foreman and friends run us out of the building. It hurts. It absolutely stings. But this was an extremely successful season for a Virginia Tech program who barely made a bowl game last year. We were hanging on for dear life at the end of the year. We only went 7-6, but we land Judah Hudson in the portal. We keep Nazir Ismail somehow, some way. We go 10-2. We win a playoff game. This was an extremely successful season for a team who had maybe blindly high expectations. We lived up to them. I think the problem is we're just not on the level of a team like Ohio State yet, and, well, that's okay, as long as we continue building and trying to work upon what was a great season. Because, the fact of the matter is we're not even close to the level of Ohio State. This was a total blowout. They were far better than us. I know Judah Hudson's numbers are not great. I'm not going to put this loss on him. I don't think he was that bad. The 2 interceptions were in garbage time. He was just throwing stuff up. He was under constant pressure the whole game, although I don't think he got sacked. Maybe once. He did a good job of avoiding pressure and getting rid of the ball, but that hurt his numbers and his completion percentage. The run game didn't really get going. I know Ringo's numbers don't look bad. He only got it 5 times. We probably should have given it to him more. But other than the one run at the end of the third, he didn't really give us a whole lot, and we never were able to establish the run. Nazir Ismail did what he could, although this is the first game all year that he did not score. But against Chris Islands, maybe the best corner in the country, it's hard to argue with 10 for 106. The problem is none of the other receivers did anything, as has been the case the entire year. And with Ismail gone, wide receivers can be a huge need for us in the portal. Defensively, not great. I thought the run defense was really good, but the coverage was not. Although their top targets were kind of quiet. But Malachi Foreman was amazing. 27-32, 391, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, he looked like the number 1 pick and then some. I'm excited to see how he does against Texas and Wyatt Cruz. That's going to be a really fun game. I think the big question for Ohio State is if they're going to be able to get their key targets involved. It's great seeing Juju Webb get 130 yards, but they're going to need more than 30 from Francois. They're going to need more than 64 from Alexander, 62 from Dakota. Their offensive line was great. Kenji Ito had 22 sacks, and then the defense was as advertised. They didn't really put up the big numbers. Filipovic only had 1 tackle, but his presence was still felt because he was clogging rushing lanes. He was helping the other guys send pressure, and then the 2 interceptions by the 2 All-American safeties. I think Nick Pulley, again, he's a first-round guy through and through to me, as is Chris Islands at corner. Although Nazir Ismail in the first half broke Corey Davis's all-time receiving yards record for a career in Division I FBS history at 5,296. So I'm happy we were able to break that record at the very least. Nazir Ismail's historic Virginia Tech career comes to a close. One of the all-time dominant players we've ever had on the channel. I'm excited to recap his career a little bit more in the offseason. Next time we'll see him play, it'll be in the NFL. Maybe as the number 1 pick. At the very least, the top non-quarterback, because, well, watching Malachi Foreman today, I understand having a hard time passing on him. So we are now down to 4 teams. No Cinderellas are left. It's fairly chalky for the top 5 seeds. We're going to get a very deserving national champion. Texas, Ohio State, Miami, and Georgia. A lot of teams with unfinished business. Ohio State made the semifinals in year 1. Georgia's made it 2 years in a row. Miami made the national championship last year, but none of these teams have gotten over the hump. Nebraska got blown out by Penn State. Michigan gets revenge on App State. Oregon puts up 72 on Iowa. I don't know why Deontay Stephan only got the ball 7 times, but what a game by the Ducks. Holy cow, I did not know they were capable of this. NC State loses to Washington. Auburn gets 65 at their own. UNC gets 62, and Florida beats BYU 38-17. As for the players of the week, Patrick Paris for Auburn and Rayleigh Kearns, the safety from Georgia. I would have thought it would have gone, if anyone from Georgia, it would have been Ahmad Smith. Jadale Mathis, 5 touchdowns for UNC, did not throw an interception the whole year. But Kearns is the only guy from any of the playoff games to have made it, which is kind of interesting. I'm surprised Malachi Foreman did not in the Big Ten. But with that, we're down to 4. Miami and Georgia with a rematch. And then Ohio State and Texas. We'll go through the 2 semifinal games, and we will crown a national champion in the next episode. Obviously, it's a little sour that we're not included, but we're going to get, I think, 3 really, really good games in the next episode, and a very well-deserving national champion between some teams who have really been gunning for it, but have been close, but no cigar. One of them will get over the hump next episode. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Peace out.